Good Wednesday morning to you all. You're watching the Kaiser Report. Welcome back. I'm John. I'm here to talk to you about a few things today, follow-ups from yesterday's broadcast and live sessions that we put out. And one of the things is the break in the violence at the Columbia University with the building takeover. I guess the police were invited in finally by the university, and they took over and cleaned out the building that was occupied by the protesters, and as well cleaned up what was in the streets with regard to the tent city that they put up there, and I guess that was vacated. There'll be some expulsions, I understand. The school is not going to just give them a free pass on this, hopefully. And I want you all to realize that there's two sides to every story, and they do have some valid reasoning involved in whoever is promoting these things for their own reasons. And it happens through education and historical events that have taken place going back thousands of years with regard to that region. So I urge you students that really do care, and you were out there for a reason, to get educated on both sides of the story and look at historical facts before you go out and you say things that you're told to say by either professors or promoters of these things that are going on and promoted by outside sources that have no business being involved in our universities. But the indoctrination continues with these people, and it starts with professors in some of these cases giving out idealistic ideas and false information in some cases. But it puts the students into a position where they're going to suffer for their actions here with these protests, which is not a good thing for them. But for the people who want to graduate and get their degrees and walk across the stage, they have no business in blocking that for the other students that are involved here, whether they're Muslim, Jewish, or whatever. These people are there, they've paid for an education, they have a right to graduate with the honors that they will be given across the stage in front of their friends and family, as we all had an opportunity to do. Now that said, with Columbia, it's a known fact that from the Vietnam War on, there have been protests for one thing or another through that university. So it is basically a left-leaning institution, we can say, with regard to that. But my only opinion on this from here on in is the fact that the police could have been called in 2.5 weeks ago and put a stop to all of this before a building was taken over and before people got hurt and before the violence set in. And if you want to talk about violence setting in, just look at what's going on in UCLA and in Georgia right now. All these universities are cascading, and it's a domino effect through the elite universities in the United States today, driven by someone who has an agenda, and it's not the students that's promoting this. There's a promoter, a known promoter, that is organizing these protests, which is the case in all past protests, if you think about it. And enough said about the university protest. We're not going back there anymore. So hopefully the powers to be will take hold of this. The White House is saying that they fear now that it'll cascade into a bigger effect because the police got involved, and they don't want the police involved. Well, if you don't want the police involved, then you don't break laws, and you don't act up, and you don't act the fool, and then you don't have police involvement. But if you do these things, you have to expect one thing and one thing only. Somebody in authority is going to either put a stop to it or try to put a stop to it, and that is going to involve law enforcement. This country has gone away from law and order. For some reason, we don't know what's driving it, but it's being allowed to happen. Enough said about the universities. I watched a program on this platform called Redacted this morning. And they had an interview with a fellow by the name of J.J. Carroll, a 24-year veteran of the Border Patrol Service and a leader in that group, who brought out some enlightening information, and he's getting ready to publish a book about this. And he was highly believable, number one. And number two, he's backed by facts. And Redacted is not taken lightly. They do fact check the people that they have on. It's a good program, and it's worth a listen to because it will frighten you right out of your pants when this fella tells you what's really happening at the border. I was, and I'm sure you will be too. It's shocking. What's even more shocking is the billions of dollars that Mayorkas has a room full of people writing checks out to non-governmental officials that are in charge of moving the illegals around the country and placing them. It's mind-boggling. I'm not going to get into details. I'm going to let him do that for you. But we thought the government says 9 million. We found out it was 10 and now approaching 11 to 12 million. We're off. He says there's over 15 to 20 million illegals that have been through the border and let loose throughout the United States. And he said most of them are young men of military age, which frightens the heck out of me, from countries of China, the Middle East, and Africa. If that doesn't worry you, I don't know what would. But it's worth a listen to. And it gets worse from there. He goes into details about how they're transporting people over borders with no accountability, and they're being given, I need 10 million today, and then 2 weeks later they get another 10 million to move the next 50,000 people, and so on and so on and so on. And these people, these NGOs, are not vetted. It's a money laundering scheme that is being condoned by the Department of Homeland Security and Alejandro Mayorkas. He should have been impeached based on the facts that this gentleman is coming out with. We knew there was hidden things behind the curtain, but no, I didn't think it would be this bad. My advice to you today is don't tune in to these news channels, these legacy media channels, and it will relieve some stress from you. It certainly has for me. I have to go on and look at this, that, and the other thing, but I do that very briefly just to get the highlights out of what they're saying so I can tell you what my opinions are. Whether or not they're lying to you or not, you have to research these things before I can come on the air and give you my thoughts on it. So, for your own health, stay away from the TV set. And I'm talking about news channels, and I'm talking about sitcoms. These all have subliminal messages all through them. We've talked about this before. It's godless drivel that Hollywood puts out. And if you want an opinion from somebody that's a Hollywood actor about how to run your life, then you need help. Because these idiots make a living playing somebody else. Not that that's bad. It used to be entertainment, but entertainment has taken a left-wing swing to indoctrination. And if you haven't seen that yet, you'll need to wake up to that fact and stay away from mainstream media. And that includes what ABC, NBC, CBS, and PBS, oh my God. It's, the whistleblower came out and said that it's, over 90-some% left wing, and boy, it showed it today. And their take on this anti-Israel thing is tantamount to just bull-faced lies. And the people they're putting on to promote this are the promoters of the agitation that's taking place. Can't trust them. This platform has some great channels on it that you need to start to look through. We talked about Redacted, Appalachian Homestead. There's all kinds. I'm not promoting anybody. As we do not, with any candidate that's running for president, we do not tell you or back any candidate in particular. But I will say this. You need to ask 3 questions of the candidates that are running, and that includes Joe Biden, that includes RFK Jr., and Donald J. Trump. The first question you need to ask them, how do you intend to balance the country's budget? How are you going to make that happen? Number 1. Number 2, what are you going to do about the law and order situation that we're devoid of right now in our major cities? What's your answer to these things? And number 3, what are you going to do about securing the United States borders? These are 3 questions that have to be answered by all of these candidates, and we already know Joe Biden's answer. You're looking at it. He comes out the other day with his whisper, if you re-elect me, I'll make colleges free. Can you believe that? On top of the fact that he wants to give $1 trillion away in student loan forgiveness. We don't have the money. We cannot do that. We don't have the money to be sending to Ukraine, to Israel, to any other foreign aid package that we have ongoing in this government today until we fix our own problems. Look at Hawaii. There's a land grab going on there right now for those poor people that got burned out of their homes due to a failure of a power company to get their lines fixed right. So you have the elites running down there trying to take their land away from them, while FEMA is keeping them and EPA is keeping them from going back to try to rebuild their homes. And by the way, they have to pay the mortgage on the home that they lost and then rental on the home that they're living in now. Where's the aid coming to those people that are citizens of the United States? Why are we aiding somebody in bumscrew Egypt before we aid our own people? It's a travesty. What is going on within the halls of our government today? So these are the questions that need to be brought up to these candidates, and I want to hear their answers before I'm going to give a vote. And we do not, at the Kaiser Report, ever and will never tell you what candidate is who. We don't endorse candidates here. We listen to the candidates and we give our opinions on what they have to say, but we don't endorse a candidate. You got two guys that are running against Biden, and I think they do have answers to these things, but make sure they're asked those questions, those three important questions. And if they don't have answers, make your decision from your heart and decide what's right for you when you go to the booth. If that is even allowed the way things are going right now. God is on our side, and we need to pray daily for guidance and wisdom in making this next important decision that we have to make this November. It is crucial for the survival of the United States of America and the Constitution that this country was formed upon. Why we're sliding away from it and into the abyss, I don't know. Excuse me. Anyway, if anything breaks today, we'll do what we did yesterday and go live and let you know what's going on. I do have the ROTC meeting that I'm speaking at today, and I won't be doing any filming today, but tomorrow, Thursday and Friday, we have both the Borderline Billiards in Bristol, and then we're going to visit the butcher shop in Kingsport, Tennessee, and bring you some live coverage there and talk to the owners and see what's happening in the region. And then on the weekend, hopefully we'll be out to do some small-town Appalachia visits and get that on film for you. So we'd like to be more positive here. I think the bad news just comes at us on a daily basis to where we cannot avoid talking about it because everyone has an opinion on it, and some of the opinions are need to be redacted, no pun intended, but we'll keep our eye on what's going on with the fake trial in New York that is keeping one candidate from actually going out and campaigning and answering these questions that are so important to us as citizens of the United States. And, you know, we're not going to get these answers from somebody that has to be locked up in a courtroom with a gag order on them while everyone involved in that trial goes out and talks about it on a daily basis and say what they want to say, but he cannot go back and tell you what his opinion of those things are because he has a gag order on them. How fair is that? By the way, this is election interference, which is illegal in this country, driven by the president of this country, who is being manipulated by we don't know who. My heart goes out to Donald Trump and his family for having to go through this continually. And then you have mainstream media telling you about the 94 criminal charges. Well, they're all made up or well past anything that has anything to do with the current situation in this country, in this world today. We need to extricate ourselves from world wars We need to extricate ourselves from little wars like that's going on in Gaza and the Ukraine, which is a lost cause. And we keep putting more money into a lost cause, which has got to be laundered somewhere. We don't need to be giving our weaponry away. And his answer to that is, well, it will make the manufacturers here better off because they have to replace all that. Who do we work for? Who do they think that they work for inside the elected offices that they were put in there to do? It's we, the people, that should be telling them what we want to do, not them telling us. They have failed miserably in this administration. It needs fixing, and we have to elect somebody that knows how to fix it, knows how to balance a budget, and run the country as the business that it is according to the Constitution as it was written. So, but Joe goes out and gives a speech and says, if you reelect me, I'll make colleges free. How is that going to work? $1 trillion for student loan forgiveness. And you have the students in the street carrying flags of another country. Come on. You cannot make this up. And it's right here in front of you. But anyway, it's going to be a beautiful day here today. We're looking forward to a lot of sunshine today. And we're going to let you go out of here. Enjoy the day. And if something does pop up, we'll give you a live broadcast from the Kaiser Report. So thank you, and God bless you all. We love you here at the Kaiser Report. Come back and see us tomorrow, if not later today. Bye-bye now.